Affairs, Mr. Amir Shubeki. Mr. Shubeki, thank you for joining us here on Q News. Sir, can you tell us first what are the key steps COP29 has taken towards launching the UN-backed global carbon market, and how will this impact global emissions reduction efforts?
Good evening for you and for all your viewers. I think right now COP29 in Baku is coming in the consequences of Trump's victory, and also in the light of other complicated issues. I think that the current conference will have a lot of difficulties regarding having one opinion and specific decisions that could have a serious impact, especially that the main goals for COP29 right now is secure the finance that was so clear that it actually needed $100 trillion. It was known that there is about $100 million needed from the rich states, and right now they understood that the poor states need more money in order to secure the transition into the reducing into these carbon reductions. So I think that was the reason that made Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, to say that the rich people are the reason for what is happening, and the poor people are the one who is paying the price. Of course, right now, Trump's return to the White House means that the withdrawal of United States will withdraw too from its commitment and from the other international agreement regarding of environment, and also maybe the headquarters of protecting environment in Washington will be removed from that place, and also we can witness that there will be more oil production inside the United States. Of course, this is cause the decline of other major powers. We know that competing against the climate change crisis need international effort, not an effort by one state. So all the states need to be responsible for this crisis. Despite that, we're gonna see a very destructive consequences.
So about the carbon markets, how will the standards set by COP29 address the long-standing credibility issues in the carbon markets, as in what specific measures are being put in place to ensure that carbon credits represent the actual emission reductions?
One of the things that was discussed a lot regarding the carbon is the fees that will be approved regarding the impact these emissions. Also, that was discussed in other and previous conferences, and there has been serious conversations in Emirates and also in the conference in Sharm el-Sheikh. The most important thing right now is the implementation of these resolutions. It's not issuing the resolutions is not the most important thing. We need the implementation. We need to have these things that we are discussing on the ground. I think that is the main challenge facing the whole world right now.
Mr. Shubeki, now, if the carbon markets actually launches as early as 2025, what will be the immediate next steps for countries and companies to begin participating in this system?
Yes, I believe if that was this market was launched by these states, I think it will be a good step regarding the emissions reductions emission. Also would protect the other resources that could be enough to help the poor states, which would mean that reducing that gap between rich countries and the poor countries in competing against, fighting against the climate change. That could be implemented only if the decision was taken by all countries. And we know that China, the factory of the world, is still using more than 50%, relying on coal by more than 50%. It's difficult and important to force China to follow these instructions to abandon using the coal. In addition to that, we are looking to the opening of new resources of coal in the European states, as they are trying to find new energy, not from the Russian. I think this step is going to be implemented, but we need to have a serious step that could be convinced other states in order to have them achieved, in order to have these fees implemented on some states. I think that was possible in the past 4 years during the Democratic administration, but right now I think it became more difficult in the coming 4 years where Trump would be the president.
So if we look from a broader perspective, what are the key drivers behind increasing the climate finance to $1 trillion annually? And how will this target help developing countries meet their climate goals?
I will be honest with you. The rich states, the wealthy states, will not be able to provide this amount of funds in order to help the poorer states in fighting against the climate change. They were unable to do so in the previous conferences. How they will be able to do so in these financial crises that striking the developing states? So for that reason, I believe that one of the solutions is impose the fees and the taxes of the carbon that will be transferred for that fund, in order to raise that money to help these poor states. But from another side, some of these states and some of these emerging economies see that the current time is a chance to get benefit from all its resources. And Ali Bev, the president of Azerbaijan, who has been who was supporting this conference, saying that these are resources that Allah gave to us, referring to the oil and the gas, mentioning that it's important for the state to get benefit from these resources. In addition to that, many other states have been using some tools in order to emissions reductions of carbon.
Then how can the developed countries overcome the challenges of actually meeting the $1 trillion annual climate finance target? What will happen next?
I think some of the statistics are referring that the world needs more than $1 trillion in order to be able to use renewable energy as an alternative for the fossil fuel. In the beginning, we need to have a political resolution that all the states were going to support regarding the emissions reductions, and to acknowledge that that is the main reason for the climate change. But I believe that if we didn't raise that money, I think we will pay in the future. We are going to pay the double of that money at the cost for the climate change that will not only cause a lot of casualties and will reduce the resources of food and so on. It's going to also destroy islands, countries, and it will cause more refugees, will cause a famine and maybe wars. So the causes of and the consequences of the climate change is really higher than what it costs for today.
Mr. Amir Shubeki, the economist and specialist in energy affairs, thank you very much, sir, for joining us.